And then we're going to open it up to questions and answers, and I'm going to moderate that process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the different ANCs. There's a map here. If anyone doesn't know which single-member district you live in, there's a map here, there's one at the back, and we can help you figure it out. But I'm going to go through each of them, and there are a couple here at the start where we don't have anyone up here, but I just want you to know in case any of you live in that district. So starting with ANC 5A04, which is more or less, it's north of Buchanan and east of South Dakota. And there's a little sliver that's within the BNCA boundaries there. So I bet you nobody here is from that district, but if you are, the incumbent is a fellow by the name of Herman Rip is his nickname, Preston. He's running again. He's the incumbent. He's running, but he has no challenger. And he's not here tonight, as I mentioned, so I'm going to move on to 5A05. And 5A05 is the area more or less between Taylor, the railroad tracks, Buchanan Street, and South Dakota. Picture that. The incumbent there is Steve McCoy, and he's not here. He's also not running again, and this is an unfortunate case of nobody is running in that SMD. So unless there's a write-in candidate, they may have no representation, which I think is really a shame. I don't blame it on Steve McCoy, but it's unfortunate that no one stepped forward. Okay, moving on to 5A06. This is the area more or less between Otis Street, the railroad tracks, Taylor Street, and 14th Street. The incumbent there is John Feely. He is running, but he's running unopposed. Nobody's running against him. And Mr. Feely, unfortunately, could not be here tonight, although he is responsible for us having this room. So we thank him for that. He had another commitment. Okay, so now we're going to move on to 5A07, where we actually do have someone here. and we do better as we go forward with the SMDs. We are in SMD 5A07 now. This building is in 5A07. And it's the area more or less bordered by Irving Street, the railroad tracks, Otis Street, and 15th Street. The incumbent is Commissioner Carolyn Steptoe, who many of you may know, but she could not be here tonight, unfortunately, but her challenger is here tonight, and that is John Daggett. And so without any further ado, an opening statement of 3 minutes from John Daggett.
All right, thank you very much. Will I get a 20-second or 15-second warning so I can...
When you hear this.
Oh, the gavel, okay. Well, Carolyn, I really appreciate you having us all together. I think this is a really important function and a forum. And one thing at the outset, I was the former treasurer and VP of the Civic Association, but I took the deliberate step of resigning not from being from the organization, but for being an officer, so that it would be clear to everybody that forums like this and when I meet people out in the community, I'm speaking for myself. So the question was, why am I running? And I thought about that, I mulled it over, thought about some big statements, but I settled on this. I think that my personal philosophy is that leadership can make a difference, difference at all levels of an organization or government, and to include volunteer, part-time, non-paid position like the ANC. I believe it completely, and otherwise I wouldn't be here. And I think I have some good ideas to help make things better in 5A07 and 5A in Brooklyn and Ward 5. So I think I have, in the short time we have, I want to bring your attention to 3 main ideas I have. The first one, by far the most important in my opinion, is to work with other community groups, is to have the 5A07 seat work with other community groups. That hasn't happened very much in my experience in 2 years being here, 5 years being here and 2 years in the Civic Association. The incumbent does not seem interested in that. I think that's a big difference between her and myself, and I think that's 2 things. 1, I think it's a shame, and 2, I think it's a big mistake, because I think there's clearly a limited amount of time. People have a limited amount of time to go to all the meetings that are out there, be informed of all the issues, particularly complicated ones, and to kind of work to a community good. And that doesn't necessarily mean that every person in every different group believes the same thing. There's one position, but I think there's plenty of stuff that unites us, and we'll be far stronger as a community to come together and have the different community groups work together. My second big idea is regarding development, which is happening all around us, and a ton of it's planned in 5A07 or adjacent to it across the railroad tracks. I think we need to have a realistic and productive approach to development. And for a long time, the debate was characterized by yes or no. Yes, I support it, or no, I don't. I think to some extent that's kind of moot because the big development's happening whether we want to or not. So I think the real discussion is, and that's why I put a lot of thought into it. I put it right on my flyer, which is I think the test is to, or the goal is to maximize the benefits, because I think there are going to be some, and minimize the impacts, and there's certainly going to be a lot of those too. And I think we ought to aim our efforts at things that can make a difference. There may be, for example, some areas of green space we can preserve. I don't think we can do everything. I think we can do some. And then the streetscape project. Need to get that restarted. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. Now on to ANC 5A08. That's more or less the area between Newton Street and due north across South Dakota Avenue